Going on that Asian parent thing,
Oh yeah.
I've heard, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows this, that it's like the classic, I want my son to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
As a video creator, I know you're still in school. Do you feel like you have the permission to be a creator coming from your family?
Yeah, that is really interesting because from the very start, I think there was definitely pressure from when I started creating, when I started even thinking or even rationalizing that this could be a full-time job someday, that there was definitely some sort of pressure within me that I was like, okay, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing, college, traditional job, very stable, very normal. And this is what I want to do. This is my passion. And there's definitely some sort of dichotomy there. So I remember thinking just when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm never going to make this a full-time thing just because there was something that probably just didn't make any sense given like the whole societal expectations for what I was supposed to do, my parents' expectations. And then at some point, I think I really came to the realization that, especially talking to some of my friends who have really, really strict Asian parents, I think I got very lucky in the sense that my parents more so just want what's best for me. If I say something like, genuinely, I think this is what's best for me, I'm passionate about it, even it's something like dropping out of school, they would eventually come to terms with supporting it. Unlike some more traditional Asian parents who would basically be like, no, like what I say is law. You can't do anything else. So after like understanding that they literally just want what's best for me, very, very, caring, kind parents, I went up to them and I asked them, I was like, can I drop out? Because at the time it was sophomore year, I was like, I'm not deriving any value from school. It feels like it's just like eating up of my time. I know what I'm passionate about. I know what I want to do. Like many other creators, it's just you kind of find that spark and you're like, holy cow, like I've never seen anything like this. Like this is the perfect balance of just like work, of being able to support yourself financially and being able to create something meaningfully impactful. So I was like, I know this is what I want to do. And I talked to my parents about it. And of course, at first they were just like, no, like you cannot drop out of school. You're literally like, you've worked so hard to get into college. Like we've worked so hard to get you here, which is all valid. But I think eventually after like, I just explained my perspective more, they were surprisingly really, really understanding. And I think they definitely deep down still felt that it was wrong, like I was making a mistake. But I think there is a level of trust where they were like, okay, like if you genuinely feel like this is what's good for you, if you feel like this will make you happy, then we'll support you for it. And I didn't actually drop out because I was like, it's kind of iffy, which scary in a way. And after all, I have like a year and a half left, so may as well just stick through it. But I do think that having the support of my parents is the main reason why like I've been able to continue creating, as opposed to like a couple of my friends who basically like have no support whatsoever. Equally passionate, equally talented at what they do, just no support system. And I think that really like impacts a lot of creators.
That's really interesting. I don't come from an Asian family, which the stereotype's always like Asian, Middle Eastern. But
very much.
My dad, my dad was first generation from Germany, and he wasn't so set on me doing one thing. I think he wanted me to do business. He was an accountant, but when I wanted to drop out, which I did drop out, my dad supported me all my whole life. Every single endeavor I've ever done, he supported me. He went to my basketball games, my football games, supported me. And when I told him I wanted to drop out, it was so weird because he was like, first of all, he was angry, which was just weird. It was unlike his character. But then he proposed an idea where he basically said, I want you to write a letter to yourself that says, like, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to fail and I'm going to go back to school. Okay. He literally wanted me to say like sign a letter that said like, when I fail, I'm going back to school.
That's awful.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I don't want to make my dad sound bad. He's the most loving person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I used to have a really bad motivation. And that motivation was I wanted to make it on YouTube, quote unquote, make it. Because what does that mean?
Yeah.
I quote unquote make it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to prove people wrong. So like in high school, I was bullied a little bit. No one took my lunch money, but people kind of made fun of me for making videos. And then after that moment with the letter, I had so much motivation to I don't think I was necessarily creating because I loved it. I was creating because I wanted to prove people wrong. And I think that motivation is so bad because it comes from a place of not being enough for yourself. And when you're not enough for yourself, no one's approval is going to fill it. But to have the happy ending on that story, I basically told my dad, like, all right, I'll sign this letter, whatever. And I had this whole vision in my head that day, you know, my mind was racing. I had this vision in my head of like writing the letter, putting it up on my wall, and then every day, 6 a.m. to freaking 2 a.m., just grind, looking at the letter, using it as motivation. And I told him I was going to write it. And the next day, he came up to me and he said, I'm sorry that I asked you to do that. That was wrong. And I support you. And ever since, he supported me.
Wow.
So it was weird because I almost think that because he did such a friggin' like slap to the face and I still wanted to do it, he could see that I was serious about it. Almost like, I don't know if that was his intention, but I think if I had caved in, it would have been, I don't know. I think the way I reacted showed him, oh wow, he really cares about this. And another thing that's interesting is I think the number one thing that holds people back from pursuing their creator dreams is parents.
100%.
Because parents don't understand it. And I used to think that was a terrible thing. I was like, damn, like when I'm a parent, I'm going to support my kids, which I am. But now I actually think it's a good thing because I don't think parents have any bad intentions in mind. 100%. I actually think if they're fully supportive, maybe that could be a sign they don't care. Maybe they're just like, oh, you do whatever you want with your life.
Interesting.
Almost like the parents that let their kids drink in high school or because they don't care. But now there's so many people who want to be a creator. It's the most demanding job in the world. It's YouTube's the number one job in America that kids want to be. And I think, dude, if there wasn't this barrier to entry of parents being like, don't do that, like imagine how much freaking competition we'd have. And it's like, I think it's good to have that barrier to entry because it filters out the people who are really serious and the people who are just doing it because fame or money or
I've never heard that perspective, but no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know what I wanted to say about that, but it's just interesting.
I will say, that strikes a chord because one of my best friends in college, my roommate, freshman and sophomore year, very passionate about content, was like a vlog, lifestyle kind of guy. And the reason he ended up quitting, even though like he was the exact same boat as us, like genuinely passionate, like knew for a fact that if he wanted to do one thing for a living, it would be this. He had to stop because his mom and dad were just like, it's not viable, you know. They really just put the foot down and said, you can't, like, you just cannot, like, pursue this full time. And it just was something that was kind of really, really, like, even to me, just, like, sad to see. You could tell how just devastated he was by the fact that he just couldn't go out and do what he loved. And it's just something as simple as, like, parents. It's, you know, they're, at the end of the day, they support you financially. You rely on them until you're older, at least until you get like a job. So they basically, if they wanted to, they could control your life. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of people. So there's also a whole side of like, even if some people are passionate enough, they just end up not being able to pursue this career because the parents are just like, no, there's like foot down. You know?
Well, the interesting thing about it is, I just lost my train of thought. But the interesting thing about, without parents, I'm blanking so hard.
You're so good.
Yeah.
I think another thing for me is that when you come across someone who genuinely like has that passion, I think the great thing is that even from base camp, I've talked to like Olivia, I've talked to Jeffrey. There are people who traditionally basically have already achieved the American dream. They're in these like great finance jobs, corporate jobs, consulting, data science jobs, and then they're just like, even today, when they're already like financially stable, able to have a job that foreseeably can increase in the amount of like revenue, wages that they can make, it's really inspiring to see how they're willing to even like quit and even to just like entertain the idea of like dropping everything they've worked towards and just pursue the passion that they sort of didn't get a chance to do in college and high school. So I think if someone does have that passion deep down, it'll be eventually it'll be something that they realize, in my opinion.
The other thing I remembered what I was going to say is, I blanked twice, is your parents give you everything. So if you come from a good household, they raise you, they treat you well, they pay for your meals, and almost every parent's one big wish is go to college and get a degree.
Yeah.
So even though they're not in our generation, they're living right now, but they don't understand the value of YouTube the way we understand it. Yeah. And now that Mr. Beast has his products in Walmart and stuff, they're starting to understand it a bit more and a bit more. And I think as the creator economy grows and there's more examples to be like, hey dad, look, Mr. Beast just sponsored the Charlotte Hornets and stuff like that. But it's one thing where you might know this career is a good option. It's a good option for me, but they don't know that. And then it feels like betrayal because they gave you everything your entire life and they wanted one wish, which was that you would go to school and get a degree. Yeah. And then you're like, have the audacity to be like, I don't think you've given me everything, but I don't think this decision's right. And it's hard because I think in one sense that's true. You like, who are you to like tell your parents that who've given you everything what you want to do? Yeah. But at the same time, your parents give you everything and then they have one request of you, which is go to college and get this degree. Yeah. And you understand something they don't, which is you understand that the YouTube job is a viable job. You understand that AI might automate these things. You understand, of course, neither you nor your parents can predict the future. Yeah. You don't know. But there's a lot of situations in where for the current economy, you might know better than your parents, but who are you to tell the person who's given you everything, like, this is the right way? And it's hard because I think that you can make the choice, which I made the choice to kind of be like, I'm going to do not what you want me to do. Yeah. But I know that if it works out and I have a fruitful career, that my parents are going to be happy because what they really want is the best for me.
Exactly.
But it's just that moment from making that decision to how they define success, because it's not even how I define it, it's how they define it.
Exactly.
And I do think though with the whole soul wealth thing that my parents are just seeing how much I'm traveling and how happy I am and all the crazy things and I think they do feel grateful that I'm successful in that way.
Yeah, and on that point, I genuinely think that is such a cool just concept and value for you to have, because it is something that for me, I've been trying to balance with a lot, in the sense that obviously I want to be able to financially support my parents, retire them, financially support any family that I may have in the future, friends, relatives. But at the same time, it's what I realized I derive real happiness from, real meaning, real fulfillment in my life is just through good, genuine connections with the people I love, with friends I love, and then just experiences with them, and just being able to enjoy life in a way that is very simple, and just something as simple as being out here in nature and sitting here having a conversation with you, Ozzy, and it's just very, very peaceful in a way. And I feel like money just sort of really overrides your brain and society's expectations, where you kind of have to make money to survive, but people start deriving happiness from it. And I don't think that truly is happiness. I mean, you can use happiness to, of course, to be able to make more meaningful connections, experiences. But at the end of the day, for me, it's that's the core, again, soul wealth. That's what you really need to be happy. And that's why you see a lot of even billionaires go out there and then they're just made all this money, grinded their entire life. And still, they get interviewed. They're I'm just not happy with myself. I'm just insecure. I'm still all of these things that they thought money would help alleviate. It just doesn't.